My best advice, if you are like me, a single mom and a full-time teacher, you are juggling all the things. You're juggling all the hats, and it's really easy to get distracted by A, the fear of missing out, B, shiny object syndrome, and C, all the things going on all around you. You've got to decide to choose one system to focus on and invest in.
Hey, teachers, welcome to Teacher Talk, where we're restoring joy to the classroom, one teacher at a time, because we just don't think teaching ought to be this hard. If we haven't met yet, my name is John, and I'm a fellow educator. I'm a burnout survivor. And most of all, or worst of all, however you want to look at it, I am a reluctant adult that does not like to do adult stuff like go to work or pick up my clothes or eat my peas, and yet that's exactly what I have to do. So if you understand what I'm talking about, go ahead and raise your hand because we're in the same boat. We are very excited today because we have my friend Katy Hammond in the Teacher Talk Live studio. And Katy is a fellow educator. She's a middle grades English teacher, and how anybody can possibly do that is beyond me. So you know that this lady knows what she's talking about. But more than that, she's also a fellow entrepreneur who wants to help other teachers and moms have more time and more money. And if that's important to you, hang out because we're going right straight to Katy right now. Katy, one of the things that is interesting about your story, and it's actually the same as my story, is that we have alternative paths to education. We had careers outside of education before we came into education. But you have a particularly interesting thing, and I did all I could not to look this up and try to figure out what it was. What in the world is a career in technology and geospatial solutions? Can you tell the world what that actually is?
Yes. So geospatial solutions, every time you open your map, whatever map it is on the back end of it, there's extensive and complicated and complex latitude, longitude data. And that has to be sourced from someone, someplace. There are people out there putting all these things together. The company that I worked for, where that was my most specific role, I helped companies like Oracle and other companies add these geospatial solutions to the back end of their solutions. And it ultimately came out of, I actually worked in the mailing industry and I was working with people who were doing bulk mailing. And it was first about like cleaning addresses up, and then it became about attaching latitude, longitude to make sure the address was more accurate. And then that morphed into going over to this other company where I then became the geospatial specialist. And,
Oh, really?
don't ask me to tell you how to get someplace because I don't know my left from my right, north, south, east, and west. But I know how that latitude, longitude stuff works.
So how much of your previous work maybe went into like Google Maps or Apple Maps or anything like, or those two even, or those things even connected?
They're a completely separate beast. We never worked directly with Apple Maps or Google Maps, but there are other companies out there. Like if you've ever seen, there's a company called Map actually. And if you look, and there's another company called Esri, and they're huge names in the industry. Esri is like a massive name in the industry. They're doing things in the background that nobody even knows they're doing. And it's all just about protecting our resources, protecting our safety. It's incredible. The world is like, it's a whole other world, and it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. And they're all focused on, how to continue improving
Right.
mapping solutions and technologies and connectivity and so forth as well. So in the end, I left that last company and I went and worked with another company that was a startup, and they actually were a mobile workforce management solution. So companies like Uber, companies like Carvana, they use those types of solutions to deploy jobs to their people in the field. And on the back end, this solution, this geospatial technology lived because you had to have accurate location and data information in order for the people to get to those jobs correctly. So if you're getting HelloFresh like me, they're using a tool that has this on the back
Well,
end.
I don't get HelloFresh, but I do get one of those meal services. So my meals get to me because of geospatial technology.
Yeah, they have
That
to
is
have it. And
that
same
is
thing with
unbelievable.
your Uber driver.
That is unbelievable. Holy cow. I had no earthly idea. Wait till the world finds out. And I can't remember. It's not HelloFresh. I can't remember what meal company that is, but we do get those.
There are so many.
And that is
HelloFresh does a teacher discount. They do a first responders discount, and a friend of mine does it. So I don't do it every week
really,
because it's very expensive, but I do it. Yeah. Yeah. And you have to go through a whole like verification process, but
yeah,
you get like 52 meals at a discounted rate. So
that is
we do it.
unbelievable.
I don't do it every week. I do it. I skip because again, hey, I'm a teacher. So
Yeah, so,
can't afford that
me
every
and
week.
my wife, we are we're empty nesters. And so it doesn't for $50 a week, we can eat pretty well off of those meals. And I
Yeah.
think I can't, for the
Yeah.
life of me, I can't think of what that is. So it's very interesting because I know that you'd said that teaching had been on your heart for many years. It was a calling. So I'm kind of interested. How did you make that turn into the teaching profession, and why middle grade English versus maybe high school science?
Okay, so my undergrad, I did not go to school to become a teacher originally. My bachelor's is in communications. I actually was into public relations and event planning, but I loved writing. I always loved writing. I wanted to be a journalist when I was young. And the competitive nature of the field, I'm not a competitive person. So I was like, nope, no thanks. So event planning was fun for me, and public relations was really cool because you still got to have an influence over the narrative of things, and you got to plan fun events, and that was a lot of fun. Dealing with logistics and all that was a lot of fun to me. And I did do that for a little bit, but you're young and you're just trying to get a job. So in the end, obviously, I didn't stay in that area, in that field, in that niche. When I was with the last company, I was laid off, and I actually did not have a job for a couple of years. I started a business of my own. I had and I used a mobile workforce management solution to manage clients and manage cleaners. I had a cleaning business, and I got the clients and I found the jobs and they did the work. But then a lot of things happened over a period of years, the pandemic and all that. And that business was really tough to keep going. And at the time, I was also doing a lot of things. I host international students. So I just had a
Uh-huh.
lot of things. I was already doing what we call stacking income streams. I just didn't know it at the time. But now I know what that means. So
Right.
anyway, the heart of teaching, I had gotten my business running and things were going so well that I was able to pick up substitute teaching. And years ago, I had actually been a volunteer high school ministry leader with a high school group down in Southern California, Saddleback Church. And I was a volunteer with them for 6 years, took like 400 kids to Mexico on missions trips and had small groups, and all these girls who I mentored back then. I still know them
Uh,
now. They're moms and wives and all that. That is actually what the root of my heart around going and becoming a teacher came from, because I wanted to be able to have an impact on lives
mhm.
the way I had then. And obviously, though, that's a very different situation than an actual classroom. But there are ways we can impact children's lives in the classroom without bringing all that into it, because it's not a religious institution, obviously.
Right.
So anyway, my blocker for becoming a teacher or even pursuing higher education had always been, my block was, I can't pass that test. There was a master's test you had to take to get into a master's program at one point. And I
Right.
actually had gone back to school to get my master's in theology a long time ago. And because I had to
Uh-huh.
take a test, I was like, "Yep, I'm done." So what ended up happening was, because of my business, I was in a networking group, and this woman came and like fed us and talked to us, and she was from Grand Canyon University.
Grand Canyon.
I was already substitute teaching, and that was
Right.
really hard, by the way, but I was already subbing, and I was already thinking about,
Mhm.
what if I could have the same schedule as my son. We had a lot of things happening also with my son at that time. He
Uh-huh.
had not yet been, but was diagnosed with autism. So
Oh.
getting back on the road, being a road warrior, doing the sales
Mhm.
thing, doing all that I was doing wasn't possible anymore for me.
Uh-huh.
And she started talking about the program and the classes, and I'm sitting there eating my sandwich. I'm just listening and taking
Right.
notes. And then she said something about secondary education masters. You can teach middle school and high school. So of course I started asking a lot of questions. And the first question was, "So do you have to take a test to get into the program?" And she said, "No, you don't have to take a test." And then she and I met separately and
Right.
privately, and we looked at like the pay scale. And I was like, okay, I don't know what world I was living in, because I was like, yeah, I can make that work. No, I could not make that work actually.
That
However, because when you come in with a master's, you start at a different place on the pay scale, in the middle
right.
instead of at the bottom.
You do.
And yeah, so that's what all these things, it was honestly, it was a God thing.
Right.
He
Good.
brought all these pieces together, and he showed me a way, and then he made the financial means possible because I obviously had to pay for it too. And I
Right.
wasn't making hand over fist in terms of income with my business. I was just getting by with, being a single mom and doing all the things. So I started my program, and that's where it just took off from there. My first class was the class all about laws, and I was like hooked, and I ended up getting 100 straight A's every single class. I was like, what do you mean I
Good.
don't get a tassel? They said it's your master's degree. You don't get a tassel for getting straight A's for your master's. I'm like, I should get a tassel. I never got one for
Absolutely.
my bachelor's. So
Absolutely. We
make
should get
myself a
something.
tassel. So yeah, that's where it all started though. It's just I just wanted to try to find a way to have a positive impact on kids' lives. And I remember teachers of my own who I just adored growing up, who were
Oh,
my
yes.
people. My creative writing teacher, I can't remember if her name was Miss Ellis, but I think that was her. That's all, it all stems from
Hmm.
just this desire to go into the world and to do better. And then, of course, yeah, to be able to be more present and more available and on the same schedule as my son. And at the time, that worked out perfectly. But then he went back to public. He went not back. He went to public school. He was at a
Right.
private school at the time. And then once he was in public school, our schedules were like not the same because he was on year round. So English is the reason I chose English was because of my background with writing. It's what I
Hmm.
feel most comfortable with. Science can be highly technical, and if you're teaching middle school science in the state of California, I'm not a science person. I love science, but I'm not a science teacher. And history, he didn't even look into it. My sister's actually a history teacher at the school I teach at. I teach at her school, and she's been there for over 20 years. So I felt like that was her thing, and writing has always been my thing.
Hey, teachers, I have no idea where you're at on your journey, but I do know what it's like to be an educator, and I do know what it's like to struggle in the classroom. And that's exactly why we created Teacher Talk, because we want to restore joy to the classroom one teacher at a time. So we don't think teaching ought to be this hard. So if something in that first segment grabbed a hold of you, jumped out at you, or resonated with you, we want to encourage you to go down in the show notes if you're on Apple or Spotify and subscribe to the Teacher Talk community. If you're on the YouTube version, jump down in the description box. All the links are right there. Plus, there's thousands of dollars worth of resources that we give away down there, and we encourage our members on a daily basis. But more than that, what we really want is we want you to subscribe to us here, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, so that we can continue to push our message out, because we think that what we have to say is important, and we want to be an encouragement to teachers. So stay strong and keep teaching. So once you got into the classroom, what was the biggest surprise? Was it the students? Was it the behavior? Was it the workload? Was it the professional environment? The lack of support? I could go on and on. Which thing really caught you off guard as a brand new
The
teacher?
behavior, the behavior, the behavior. I will never forget my very first behavior, like major behavior thing. I was actually in my program, in my student teaching program. I was the fourth teacher that these kids had had that year. They were my students for the rest of the year. It was actually the year the pandemic hit. And, there was one specific student, and that one student could turn the entire classroom upside down. We sat down with counseling, we did restorative practice, we did all of it. And it was one of those moments of, I don't know if I can do this. A recourse. There's not a lot we can do.
So there isn't, in particular from state to state. Florida, there's a little bit more flexibility, in particular in my district as it relates to discipline. We are still what many would consider to be pretty harsh,
Mm,
because the process for expulsion is not that difficult here. It is in other places, and I understand that.
mhm.
Let me ask you a question though. Have you found that the iron fist approach works best, or the I'm going to take time to make student connection and build relationship approach works best?
I'm so old school. I'm going to say iron fist
Yeah. Sometimes it
because
does. So you
it's
so your goal in the classroom is to set it out from the start and go from there.
I set the expectations. We sit down and we do class norms. We review my expectations. And, it's a hard no. Like, we're not doing that right now. And I've told students who have decided that it's their time to shine when it's not supposed to be, right? This is not your classroom. It's everyone's classroom. And your need to do this thing you're doing right now is taking away from everyone else's ability to do their job, which is to learn. So please do your job, which is to learn. and like be a helper. But the iron fist, I say iron fist because what I've watched happen, and I'm still new. I consider myself still new, 7 years in. Colleagues and my colleagues can attest to this as well. Every year we give a little more, and every year the behaviors get more difficult. And that is like, how can we, when they, I'm trying to, there's an analogy I'm trying to think of, or even a metaphor, but like, when kids push you as parents, when kids push us, this time they pushed us this much, right? And they got
Right.
this far. And then the next time they're like, oh, I'm going to push a little bit further and then a little bit further. And that's what I see our students doing too. Not all of them, but
So
the ones who do it set the
they
tone.
absolutely will, in particular in a class where there have been multiple teachers in the span of the same year.
That
And
first year was so hard.
yeah, and the behavior post COVID has been very difficult to deal with in schools. In some ways, I feel like we're starting to regulate just a little bit, because I think this year is the year that we got through all of the kindergartners that were affected by COVID. I think that's this year. I could be wrong. So let me ask you a question. How did you this digital marketing? How did you come up with that? And how did you find this Mad Money Mama? Where did that come from?
Mad Money Mama is my name. Like, I came up with it because when I was a kid, by the way, you asked me why I chose middle school over high school. I'm afraid of high schoolers. They're so hard.
So I got
Yeah.
to say, I like middle school students. I'm not afraid of high schoolers at all, but I love middle school students, in particular sixth grade students, because they're so awkward, and you know, they don't even know they're human beings yet. And so I enjoy them quite a bit, just to be honest. So that's my
I'm
favorite.
seventh,
That's my favorite
seventh
group.
grade. I
Yeah.
think it would be fun to teach sixth grade. I remember when my son was in sixth grade, and I thought that that was a very sweet kind of edge of things starting to come up and happen
Right.
time in their lives. I'm a middle school where it's straight seventh and eighth grade.
Yeah.
And here, at least in my district, our classrooms go K through six. Our schools go K through six, and then seven, eight, and then
Ah,
9 through 12. But I lived in Virginia a long time ago, and it wasn't like that. There's so I've learned over the years it's not like that. And if you're at a Montessori, it's not like that either. But
right.
anyway, that's why I chose middle school though. And I chose seventh grade because that's the class that they had me in when I was student teaching. So then when I interviewed for when I interviewed for the job that I actually had, I was the teacher of record, but like I didn't have a contract. So I had to interview for the job when the year was over. I didn't have a guaranteed job when I was done. Like, they needed a seventh grade teacher, so that's where I've stayed. And then I also teach newcomer students who are new to the country learning English. And that's a blended class, seventh and eighth grade. Anyway, to
Right.
going back to that question, I didn't answer it. So Mad Money Mama, my grandmother, I don't know, maybe it's something I made up in my head, but I remember her having this little like envelope, and it was her Mad Money. And that meant her money that she got to have, that was extra money to do the things that she wanted to do or needed to do, or maybe there was an extra expense,
Yes.
but really it was her, I want to take you to lunch money. So, hey, let's meet for lunch. And so we would meet for
Gotcha.
lunch and she would use that. So, Mad Money is, and that's kind of the design behind what I'm doing in my digital marketing journey. I'm just starting an online business. I'm not new to starting a business, but this is a very different world, this world of digital marketing and online businesses and so forth. Because, before I was like going door to door and putting out hangers on people's doors for my other business, and they would call and we'd make an appointment. But this is
Hmm.
different. For this, the concept behind Mad Money Mama was that the reason I started it, um, last summer I needed to, I have an HOA where I live, and I'm thankful for it. So I love my HOA because it
Right.
keeps everybody like honestly.
Yeah.
But the house needed to be
We like
painted.
ours too, I got to tell you.
Yeah. I've had really bad experiences with them, but this is one of the best ones I've ever had. The house had to be painted though, and that was upwards of 10K, and I had saved it, but then it was gone.
Holy cow.
And then the school year started. Oh my gosh, no, that wasn't even the worst quote. The worst quote I got was 15.
Lord.
But it was house painting. Yeah, it was a lot. House painting, and then I had a lot of other things that needed to be repaired as well, just because of dry rot and things like that. So got that done, no problem. But then the new school year started and we're going along. And, my son, he's now 6'1.5". He's going to be a freshman. I had already bought him shoes for the school year.
That's a
They
good
didn't fit
size.
anymore.
That's a good
Yes,
sized boy, and he'll grow out of everything you buy.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there was no money left in savings. I didn't even have, enough extra coming in to rebuild it quickly. And then the washing machine broke. So he needs new shoes and the washing machine broke. Oh, and the registration on the car was due. And I mean, these are things you think of, but you don't expect those other unexpecteds. And I'd already dealt with the other and somewhat unexpected. Then that's why got into this business. The whole, like, what am I going to do? I don't have the money to do all of these things at once. And it was November and Christmas
Right.
was coming. So I have a friend who she had actually already started her own digital marketing business,
Mhm.
and she had been talking about it, and she and I had been talking about it, and all I kept saying was, there's no way I have no time. There's no way I have no time. And in the end, I waited for an emergency to finally
Right.
take action. Had I
Right.
started in June of the summer when my house was being painted and had started building it and putting that infrastructure in place then and started learning the skills, November wouldn't have hit me the way it hit me.
I have to say, I'm surprised that you couldn't pay for all that off of that great teacher salary, right? Isn't that part of the issue? So, digital marketing in particular for just the regular person, just any person, not just teachers, is absolutely a legitimate way to either supplement your income or to create your lifestyle income. It is the largest small business in America right now. In fact, this will be on YouTube, and the creator economy is the number one fastest growing small business in the world right at the
Yeah,
moment. And I
absolutely.
think that teachers are uniquely positioned to benefit from digital marketing because we are the original content creators. We create content every single day
So true.
over and over and over. And the truth of the matter is, on social media, if you have 7 pieces of content, right, that you can repurpose over and over and over, you can do pretty well. So, from that perspective, how have you been able to help teachers just specifically, or moms? I know that you were really had a heart for single moms, and how have you been helping? Hey, Katie, I'm glad you're back. Somehow or another, we got off track. And if everybody notices, Katie's location changed, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's actually the coolest part about digital marketing and what we do is you can change locations and go do it anywhere that you want. You have time freedom, you have location freedom, and you can have financial freedom. And so where we dropped off,
Absolutely.
Katie, is we're talking about teachers and moms, single moms, and listen, they're already stacked 52, 54 hours a week. What would you say to the single mom or to the teacher right now about digital marketing? What would you have to say to them?
My best advice, if you are like me, a single mom and a full-time teacher, you are juggling all the things. You're juggling all the hats, and it's really easy to get distracted by A, the fear of missing out, B, shiny object syndrome, and C, all the things going on all around you. You've got to decide to choose one system to focus on and invest in. And yes, invest. You do have to make an investment. Anything that's free is only going to get you so far. And at some point, it's going to have a cost associated with it. But you need to invest in a system that's going to provide you the tools and the support, which will allow you to be successful. So you're not working in a silo in your digital business, right? In your online business.
Uh-huh.
Nobody likes doing it in the classroom. And I've only ever known being a single mom, so I don't know what it's like to parent with a partner. But a lot
Right.
of people have said, I can't imagine doing this by myself. And in this business, I can't imagine doing it by myself. I'm not out there creating a bunch of things and throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks. I'm following a proven system and I'm using strategies which are also proven in order to build my business, to help other people do the same, and to learn new skills. Because at the end of the day, as a teacher, The day I
Hmm.
stop learning is the day I should stop teaching. And in digital
I
marketing,
agree.
it's no different. We're constantly learning here because this ecosystem is constantly changing. So when I finally decided to move forward, it wasn't an easy yes. It was everything is falling apart and I financially do not feel safe right now. I need a solution that's going to bring me some ongoing income that I can depend on so that I don't have to spend extra time after school, join something just for the extra money, or teach summer school. And this summer, I was
Hmm.
able to step away from all that and have that freedom because I did build a business that does run on automations in the background, but I didn't have to do any of it by myself. And I didn't have to create anything either. All of my business on the back end, it's all done for me. It's called done for you business. So I had
Right.
to plug and play, but I followed simple step-by-step processes to do that. And I keep plugging in every single day. Like today, I just did another little 7-minute call, roadmap to success, roadmap
Hmm.
to what I'm doing, and continued growth and continued learning.
So you can really do it in an hour or two a day.
So the general conversation around it is 2 hours a day, but I batch plan on the weekends and I
Uh-huh.
schedule things out.
Right.
And when I do that, it actually allows me to get through my business
Hmm.
side of things throughout the week in less than 2 hours a day.
See,
But it's because I'll front load a little bit I'll front load on the weekends.
that's exactly what I mean whenever I talk about teachers being the right people for digital marketing, because we understand what it means to plan ahead. We understand how to batch plan. We understand
Yeah.
how to get all those things done. And the teacher already has the skill. And the truth is, it doesn't have to be, a digital marketing done for you course per se, as it relates to teachers. They have the ability they have marketable skills already if that's what they wanted to do. But legacy does absolutely will teach you how to build a business, a digital marketing business. So let me
Yeah.
ask you a question. You said that your impact shouldn't end at the door and your income shouldn't be capped by a salary schedule. What do you mean by that?
So your income shouldn't be capped by a salary schedule, meaning we are capped, right? And
Hmm.
as teachers, we have this is the amount, this is what we will make this year.
Hmm.
But you have the ability to build additional income for yourself with an online business using those done for you tools and 100% master resale rights on products which are
Right.
valued at not just valued at, it is a $900 product, $600, $300, or $100 product. And if
Right.
I had a $100 day, 7 days a week, that's $700 extra each week. I make $60 staying 1 hour after school, and then all the taxes are taken before I actually see any of that. At the
Yep.
end of the week, I wouldn't even be able to stay after school enough hours in order to generate that amount of income each week extra. So why not spend that
Exactly
one
right.
hour a day instead with my online business?
Absolutely.
Part of my daily operation during the week, I am just checking to make sure my posts, because I can schedule posts in
Right.
advance. I can
Hmm.
schedule those posts based on what the best time is to schedule them. And
That's
yes,
right.
they say you should always engage before and after. I've seen both positive and negative, like supporting as well as debunking that myth.
Hmm.
I check in, I respond to comments, I engage with other people who engage with me. That is part of it. I look at groups, I look at other like teacher groups and mom groups and things like that, and I contribute. I am a moderator in 2 different communities over on Facebook,
Right.
and I was asked by the person who runs those communities if I would moderate for them based on how I show up online, based on what they saw from me and of me. But I didn't know how to do any of this. Without Legacy, I would have never started any of this because they are skills that yes, I know how to batch plan and things like that, but I didn't know how to do it in an online space. And digital marketing is
I
different
didn't
than what
either.
I was doing. Yeah, it's different than what I was doing when I had a feet on the ground business, when I was putting those door hangers
Right.
on people's walls. I was using
Right.
Nextdoor and posting in there. So that got me a little like started, I guess you could say, in a sense. It
Hmm.
calibrated me, but I had no idea that this was something that would be in my future. And I am thankful to my friend who I learned about it from. But I'm even more thankful to, our founder, Michelle O'Neill, for what she's created and the fact that she just keeps pouring into everybody every single day. No
Well, I
matter where
can
she
tell
is,
you,
by the way. She was doing it from Greece, doing it all over the world. Italy,
right?
Greece, etc. Like it's amazing.
Well, it never would have occurred to me that I would have been in the digital marketing business. One of the things that you said right here, we're talking about capped income. And I
Yeah.
try to make this point quite often is it doesn't matter how much longer I teach. My district is not ever going to pay me more than what I make. All I'm ever going to get is whatever, school bonus money I can get or whatever the union negotiates, which isn't a lot.
No.
It's literally less than $2,000 a year, which, at the rate of at our economy and inflation, it doesn't make anything up. And so, the vast majority of teachers are already working some sort of a side hustle.
Yes.
I guess I have to say to all of our teachers that are listening to this, I think you really have to sit down and consider, do you want to work the side hustle for somebody else? Or would you like a side hustle that you can do at the beach at any time that you want to do it, that has zero income cap on what
Yeah.
you can actually make? Because there is no
Right.
cap here. It's really
There
all comes
isn't.
down to how much I am willing to put into this. And like you said, showing up in communities, showing up on TikTok and YouTube and other places, and just being visible, and get
Yeah.
the know, like, and trust factor, which is
Which,
difficult because there's so
yes,
many people that want to scam nowadays.
you've got to choose one place. You can't show up everywhere. You have to choose one place and show
Yep,
up there, show up well, and be consistent. And as far as that income cap is concerned, keep in mind, I am a seventh year teacher right now. So for me, I'm still going up, right? I'm all the way over because I did all the trainings to get to the
that's right.
furthest column over, but I'm still going up. But my sister, who's been teaching for 20 years,
That's right.
she's done.
She's
She's
done.
not moving up anymore. And
She's
none of
done.
the people in my school, in my district really, who have been teaching for 20 plus years, none of them are moving up anymore either. And that is true income capping. I'm not leaving teaching because teaching provides me with my long-term plan, right? And this supplements my long-term plan. This allows me to save for my son's college fund because my salary doesn't cover that.
That's
That
right.
was also part of my why. Part of my why was
Yes.
he's an engineer kid. He wants
Hmm.
engineering kid. He wants to go to Caltech. He wants to go to Berkeley. Like, that's a very big price tag. Those schools come with large price tags, high price
They
tags.
sure do.
And I'm in it. We're in it because that's his future.
Hmm.
But I don't want him to end in debt. And this will allow me to make inroads toward that college fund for him.
Well, if
So
he
it's just so
takes
much, there's so much more to it than,
Yeah. If he takes the free money, he'll be in debt for the rest of his life. And that's the really the outcome that a lot of teachers find themselves in, because
yeah,
like the starting salary for a new teacher in America averages somewhere around $44,000, I think I read.
right, right.
And the average student loan debt for a teacher is somewhere around $54,000. And I'm not a math guy; I'm a PE guy and a history guy, but
I'm an
I'm good
English teacher. Don't ask me
I'm
to
good
do
enough to
math.
figure out that math is not going to work. So, Katie,
Mm-hmm.
as we try to land the plane right here, this is what I want to do. Just want to give you a good minute or two, and if there's a teacher listening today that they're right where you were 7 years ago, they're overworked, they're underpaid, and they're wondering if there's more. What's one simple step that they can take today to start moving towards building their business? What can they do? What can they do?
First, you got to believe that you can do this. If you've got voices in your
Mhm.
head saying, I can't do it, I can't do it, ignore those voices and borrow belief from someone else. Michelle O'Neill is a hope dealer. She has a shirt that says hope dealer and she's true and through. She is a hope dealer. You can do hard things. The first step is the most difficult step in
Yep.
that process. You have to take that first step and choose to do it with a system and a program that is going to support you every step of the way. Because
Yep.
we all know what it feels like to be given a whole new set of books. I'm getting a brand new set of books this year for our curriculum I've never taught before for my newcomer students, and I will have zero prep because I
Yes.
agreed to overload because I need this class for my students. I am going to be flying blind. This is not that. This allows you and provides you everything you need to be
Hmm.
successful. But you've got to follow the steps. You got to follow the process. You got to follow the steps and borrow belief. Plug in and know that there is success when you invest in yourself. And it's possible for you to stop living paycheck to paycheck. It is possible. I was just at a training the other day, and the teacher was like, yeah, it's the last day of the month and paycheck doesn't hit till tomorrow. I'd love to go to lunch with you all, but I just can't do
Yeah.
it. I can't afford it. And
I
I was
haven't been
thinking,
paid since June.
$17? What if you've got something coming in, rolling in, and it doesn't have to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. It doesn't mean you're leaving your job as a teacher. If you love what you're doing, great. But if you don't love what you're doing, this is an exit plan. It's a
Yep.
viable exit plan. And by
It
the
is.
way, the digital marketing space, this online space, it will have grown to by 2030 will be a $30 trillion
That's
a year
right.
business.
It
You want to be
is an
watching that happen,
unbelievable
or you want to
market.
be part of that? Yeah, more. And in
It
fact, yeah,
is.
I'm guessing it's more now too. But
Yep.
it's not getting any smaller, it's just getting bigger. And there are just so many ways that you can leverage this space, but you got to start with bite-sized pieces. Rome wasn't built in a day.
It absolutely wasn't. I tell you, again, I never would have thought I would have been here. I want to highlight what Katy said. The number one thing that she said is 100% mindset. At some point, you have to say, I can. Now, as teachers, we spend a lot of time trying to convince students that they can actually do something. And yet, a lot of times, that very same mindset is a mindset that we struggle with. Katy, it has been so good having you here, and I hope that you get to come back in about a year and you tell me that you're a gazillionaire and that you're actually running your business from a yacht, and I hope that it's been helpful. And so to all of our Teacher Talk
Or
family,
a cottage on the sea.
yes, that would be great. To all of our Teacher Talk family, we have no idea where you're at on this journey, but we have been where you are. And what we want to encourage you today is to stay strong and keep teaching.